So earlier in the show today, we looked at what's driving Canada's youngest voters to come out and cast their vote. Joining me now in studio are two of those voters. Julia Paikin is a philosophy major, just finished at Queen's University. And Selena Mankarios is a roundtable member at Young Politicians of Canada and an environmental researcher. Good morning. So good to have both of you in studio today. Okay, so Julia, let's start with you. When you look at the top concerns for you, what are you looking at?
Well, when it comes to the election, I'm just worried that young people are not going to come out to vote. They're going to see the polls. They're going to think, Carney's got it. My vote doesn't really matter anyways. And because of that, they're not going to waste their time waiting in line. So my big thing is go out to vote. If you're young, please go. Are you hearing that too, Selena? Is that one of the conversations that people are having?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's about convenience as well. Like a lot of people, maybe, or especially younger people, maybe thinking that their vote won't matter, or you know, they're busy with other stuff, so they feel like they don't have time to vote. And something that I'm really concerned about too is the environment and how that's playing a role in each of the parties. There's a lot of focus on the economy, but since we're in an environmental and a climate crisis, like what's being done for the environment should be going hand in hand with what the parties are working on.
So when, you know, it sounds like one of your top concerns obviously is climate and the environment. So when you look at what everyone's presenting to you when these, you know, campaigns are saying, I promise to do this, this, and this, is that what you're looking for? You're looking for information around that as your top priority?
Yeah, I think with the environment, also affordability in housing, I think that's something that is really important, like cutting fossil fuel subsidies and transitioning Canada to be more climate friendly in general with different options rather than just focusing on oil. So animal agriculture, other things as well.
And what about you, Julia? In terms of like what your top priorities are, what you want to hear about, what would those issues be?
Well, I'm coming out of university, so it would probably have to be housing. And I know I'm the conservative on the panel, so you're going to expect me to champion Poilievre and put Carney down. But if we're being honest here, if you put their platforms side by each, they are promising a lot of the same things. So for me, it really comes down to who you can actually trust when it comes to implementing these things. And for me, it would be Poilievre. I mean, he's been preaching this stuff for 20 years. When it comes to Carney, he just came in. He wrote a book a couple years ago called Values. He seems to really care about the environment. And so, you know, cutting the carbon tax, implementing pipelines, I don't know if that's really what he believes in.
That's where you're standing right now. That's your thoughts. Selena, as a member of the Young Politicians of Canada, you released a series of priorities that young voters feel are ignored by Ottawa. I'm going to walk through some of those now. Some of those priorities include transitioning animal agriculture to plant-based alternatives, reducing financial barriers to education, and addressing unemployment. I'm really interested about this one piece that you have here, which is the transitioning animal agriculture as a top priority. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit, why that's so important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that animal agriculture is often overlooked as a climate solution. We're always looking at fossil fuels and energy as like the top priority. And even though gas and oil is the biggest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, the second biggest contributor is animal agriculture. And there isn't really anything being done by any of the parties regarding that. But if we can focus on bringing like intersectional education to schools, for example, educating people on how their food choices are impacting the environment and how plant-based alternatives are better, and also potentially shifting meat and dairy subsidies to plant-based alternatives, that could be a easy way to help with the climate crisis, other than maybe gas and oil, which is a more hard topic to go around.
Julia, you mentioned this. I mean, you used to canvass for all the parties. You didn't mention that, but you used to canvass for all the parties. And then you did mention you are now a card-carrying conservative. You've been that way for more than 2 years. And we really have seen a bit of a cultural shift with young people, I would have to say. I'm going to give some examples here. So Nano's polling is showing right now 41% of voters between the ages of 18 and 24, look at the numbers here, support the Conservative Party. When we take a look back to 2015, 45% of voters in that same age range supported the Liberal Party. So what do you think it is that is specifically drawing people to the Conservative Party?
Well, I think it's safe to say the political landscape completely shifted when Trump came onto the scene. You know, his personality, whether or not you agree with him, he was very authentic and he spoke to a lot of people because of that. I think politics was normally in the past about talking points and everyone kind of came off similar, and he really changed the game. And when we look at Poilievre, the big video that came out, him with the apple, right, and he was not letting any questions.
What did you think about that?
I loved it.
You did?
I did, and I think a lot of people my age loved it, and that's why a lot of people see authenticity in him, and for that reason are voting Conservative.
Let's talk about what you guys started talking about out of the gate with this conversation. It's getting people out to vote. In the last federal election, less than half of Gen Z voters came out. In 2021, let's look at some of the numbers. Elections Canada recorded just under 47% of voters between 18 and 24 actually cast their ballot. But I find this really interesting because, you know, your generation is loud on social media, right? There's a lot of conversations happening, but pretty quiet at the ballot box. So what do you make of that disparity? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues may also be an influx of information. Maybe they don't know where to look to find the official stances of each of the parties, and also maybe feel like their actions won't make a big enough difference. Like one vote they feel like is not going to do anything, but also they're busy with their own lives in school, so it's maybe like an inconvenience as well. So I think you know, having that voting in schools is something that's making it easier, or you know, trying to bring all the information in one place and making it more accessible for youth to be able to learn those issues. I think that's what would help them want to vote.
Mm-hmm. And Julie, what do you think?
I pretty much agree with everything she has to say. I think a lot of people right now are upset by politics and they don't really know what to do with themselves. It's kind of, if we're being honest here, it is kind of a two-party system. The Greens are not going to win. The NDP's not going to win. The Bloc's not going to win. And because of that, I don't think young people are really, you know, excited to get out there because they don't really trust either. You know, so.
Well, so if somebody says to you right now, and what are you saying to people that say, you know what, my vote doesn't really matter, it's not going to change anything. What do you typically, Julia, how do you typically respond to that kind of comment?
You live in a country where you are given the right to vote, go vote, you know.
And you, Selena?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, yeah, if everyone thinks like that, then nobody's going to vote. So it's the power of the numbers. So you do make a difference.
You do make a difference, and your conversation today makes a difference as well. So thank you both, Julia and Selena, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.